To find the domain of a composite function, it is a two-step process. First, we find the domain of the inside function. A composite function is one that is nested, and the inside function is going to operate on an input value first. So whatever that input is has to be an allowable input for the inside function. Then we have to figure out who passes through G to become the domain restriction of the outside function and exclude any of those values. So let's look at a quick example. First, we're asked to find the composite function f composed with g, and as a reminder, this notation means that our f function is on the outside and we're going to plug the g function into it. So in this particular case, f composed with g is going to be the f function is the square root of x. So we're going to write down that outside f function with a big hole for the independent variable. And then we plug the g function into that independent variable spot. So our g function is 2x plus 3, and our f composed with g function cleaned up just a little bit because we don't actually need to carry forward those parentheses would be simply the square root of 2x plus 3. Now to find the domain of the f composed with g function, let's be reminded that this is a two-step process. The first thing that we have to do is to find the domain of the inside function. And again, our inside function was the g function. Now, since the g function is a linear function whose graph is a line, we know that the domain of g is going to be all real numbers. So we don't get any exclusions from this first step. The second thing that we need to do is we need to set the inside function equal to the domain restriction of the outside function. Now this language doesn't fit exactly to our scenario, so we'll have to take this basic idea and edit it just a little. Because f is a radical function, we know that the domain of f is going to be that x is greater than or equal to 0. We can only have positive values underneath this radical. A negative value would cause the output to be imaginary. So since the g of x function was what we plugged into that independent variable, that basically means that our g of x function is what needs to be positive. So in this particular case, it didn't quite make sense to set it equal to the domain restriction. It makes a little more sense if we think about making sure that g of x function turns out to be an allowable input of f or in the domain of f. So that phrasing is a nice idea to kind of help get us started, but sometimes we need to adjust it a little bit based on the scenario. So we'll need to subtract 3 from both sides to solve for x, or to figure out who are the x's that make g an allowable input for f. And then when we divide both sides by 2, we see that when x is greater than or equal to -3/2, these x values will pass through the g function to cause g's output to be positive so that it generates a real number once it goes into f. So let's formalize our answer to say that the domain of f composed with g is equal to, in interval notation, -3/2, including -3/2, and going off to positive infinity.